So welcome to our evening relaxation practice tonight. And for those of you who are interested in where the inspiration for tonight's class came from, it's from the work I did at Kripalu last November with Jillian Pransky. She was a lovely teacher, and I've got her book in my hand, and I'll be reading a little bit from her book tonight and using some of her sequencing in this relaxation practice tonight. So we're starting in constructed rest. So if you would like to lie down on your back, knees bent, feet on the floor. And the feet don't have to be at any particular place. They can just be put into the floor where it's most comfortable for your knees and your hips tonight. You're welcome to use a pillow, although that's certainly not required, not even recommended really. And you may want to place your hands on your low belly. Sometimes I find when I place my hands on my low belly, it just makes me feel a bit more, coddled. And that's kind of where I'd like you to go tonight if you can. This is our self-care time. And it's a very important part of the day. So lying on your back, knees bent. The knees could lean in towards each other if that takes a little pressure off the hip joints. And start to release your weight into the ground. Begin to open your awareness into the physical body and notice if you're clenching anywhere or if you feel that you're carrying any unnecessary tension tonight. And if it's possible, invite that area of your body to relax a little bit more. Let the ground hold you fully and let your breath arrive in your body. If you have brought your hands to your low belly, you may feel your breath arrive in your body. Feel your palms receiving your breath. And see if you can imagine that breath unraveling any knots inside of you. So at this point, we're just going with your natural breath, whatever comes organically to you, and welcoming the breath. Feeling the breath moving your body under your palms. And our evening relaxation classes, we're preparing to release the day, to move into a good quality of sleep. So we're deliberately starting to slow the pace of things down and to be a little bit more body-centered in our activities. During our daytime activities, we're often very focused on, whatever task is at hand. It could be computer work, it could be gardening, it could be working in the home. But what we want to do now is take the focus away from those external tasks and bring it more into being present moment aware. What's happening in the body? How do you feel? And really starting to move at the pace that the body moves, which is slower than mental time. So letting the ground hold you fully and letting your breath be welcomed into your body, feeling that with your palms, riding the natural swells and dips of your breath. And I hope in these first few moments of class that you have started to notice some of the signature feelings or activities of relaxation beginning. A feeling of softening, feeling of being willing to slow down a little bit, a feeling of being more connected to your breath, perhaps. These are all ways that you can start to prepare for a nice night's sleep. We're going to come into some simple movement now. Our movements will be slower than they would be in an earlier day class. And I'm going to ask you to take milder forms of your postures. So even if you normally do a posture much deeper, you're more flexible, you can do these other things. Maybe today for our relaxation yoga, we just dial it back a little bit. This is self-care time, so you're just going to be really coddling of yourself. Please take an inhale. And as you exhale, bring your right knee toward your chest and interlace your fingers around the back of the right thigh. See if you can keep your right knee bent at about a 90-degree angle here. So your foot will be lifted maybe a little bit. And the knee is positioned over top of the hip joint, not too close into your body. And then slowly let the left leg stretch out on the mat. Fully extend the left leg as much as you can. And now we're going to have just a little bit of effort happening here, just a little efforting, not too much. As you imagine you're going to pull the right leg away from your body, but your hands are holding the right leg into place. And you've got a little bit of tension building in the right hip. Just a little bit of tension, not too much efforting, maybe 30% effort. If it's hard for you to interlace your hands behind the right thigh, you could have a strap or a towel in between your hands, and that'll come in handy later too. So take one more breath, pulling the right leg away from you while the left leg relaxes and has a vacation. And then let's release the right leg and see if it wants to stretch out beside the left leg. That's really uncomfortable for your back. You can go back to constructed rest the way we began class. Take a few breaths, those natural, easy, organic breaths, just kind of comparing the sensations you have in the right hip and in the left hip. And then I'll please ask you to bend your knees again, stand your feet on the floor, and here we are back into constructed rest. We'll meet any of our friends that chose that instead. Take an inhale, and as you exhale, please bring your left leg into position. So this is exactly the same pose on the second side. You know where you're going now. So we'd like to have the left knee at about a 90-degree angle, so the foot's lifted up a bit, and the knee itself is positioned over the hip joint. Then let your right leg stretch out flat on the floor as much as it will. And a little bit of work here, not too much, but we're pulling the left leg away, meeting the resistance of the hands, or if you used a strap or a towel there, that works well. It's important that you keep your breath smooth and even. So Marcia and I were talking about the Franklin method before class began today, and this is something that one of the principles of the Franklin method is just this little bit of efforting, a little bit of muscular engagement. And then when you're ready, you can softly release the left leg. And just notice if there's any difference between the two sides of your body. Or if they feel more symmetrical now than the last time you checked. So notice how it feels to be slowing down, to be paying more attention to bodily sensations. And we'll take the whole class to keep moving in this direction, but just kind of, notice how it feels. When you're ready, can we please bend the knees again? Place the feet on the floor briefly. Make sure your back's feeling okay. And then let's take the right knee in towards the chest again. You're welcome to use any props that you like. This time, bring the knee in as close to the chest as you can comfortably, and let the left leg stretch out. And now this is lazy yoga now. This is no efforting required really, except holding the right leg a little bit closer to you. Just really try to relax the weight of your bones to the earth. We'll take a couple breaths here. And then please bend your left knee, stand the foot on the floor, and let the right foot come down to the floor beside it. Take a breath between sides. Your nervous system likes this pace. Your nervous system will gradually adjust to the fact that there's more time to feel, and it will start to calm down. Let's draw the left knee in and hold it into the chest as much as you are comfortable with. Props is fine, like a strap or a towel, and straighten out the right leg, and then do lazy yoga. No real efforting required. Continue to be aware of your breath. You're using your natural, organic, smooth, easy breath here. We might play with that later, but right now we're just letting the breath flow on its own. So please bend the right knee, stand the foot back on the floor, bring the left foot down beside it, and rest in your constructed rest. Now this is where I was going to suggest that we use the chair, and I can help demonstrate this. If you don't have a chair, you're welcome to use the edge of your couch or coffee table or whatever you've got that won't move. And you don't have to do it this way. I just find that this is a way that really helps your back maintain its neutral alignment and gives you a wonderful kind of effortless stretch. So whatever little edge you found, the edge of the chair or the edge of your couch, bring your feet up. And once again, your knees will be about a 90-degree angle. And be prepared to shift your body back or forward so we get the proportions just right. I'm going to start with my left leg, because the left side is the happier side tonight. I'm going to exhale, bring the knee in. Notice I didn't use my hands. And cross the ankle over the right thigh, creating that classic figure 4 stretch. Once I get into the stretch, I'm going to do a few like pelvic tilt sort of movements, loosening up the low back a little bit, and then trying to find the middle ground here. So I still maintain a small lumbar arch. I haven't let the back round out and press firmly into the floor. And then from here, I'm just going to maybe relax. Once again, letting the ground receive my weight and welcoming the breath into the body. Take a few nice deep breaths. Relaxing in this stretch on purpose. Now, I'm sure you've done many yoga classes where people grab onto their legs and they try to do a deep stretch. We're really not there tonight. Our goal here is to really start to slow down and really become more intimate with what happens in the body. And if we really slow down some of those stretches we've done in yoga, sometimes they weren't all that pleasant, or maybe we went a little too fast. So in relaxation yoga, we're really trying not to do that. You might take 2 more breaths here. And then without using the hands if possible, withdraw the ankle and place the foot back on the edge of the chair. Just taking a moment to notice the change in the 2 sides of the body again. And then when you're ready, drawing the other knee in, crossing the ankle over the opposite thigh. I can feel quite a difference between the 2 sides because the right side is the one that gives me a bit of trouble sometimes. Do a few pelvic tilts again, just to remind yourself that you have that movement available and that you can maintain neutral spine in this position in order to target the stretch more into the buttock muscle that we're looking for. And I don't know if you're starting to sense this yet, but this particular sequence was created by Jillian to help us release a deep hip flexor muscle called the psoas. The psoas muscle, and we could do a whole class on this sometime. It's fascinating. The psoas muscle is a deep hip flexor that starts in your low back and moves through the center of your body, right through your guts, and emerges in the groins. And it's a muscle that reacts immediately and intimately to stress. So you may be noticing as we go through this sequence tonight that those deep, stress-filled muscles in the guts start to slow down and loosen up a little bit. Take a couple more deep breaths here. And then we can release both feet back to the edge of the chair or whatever you were using. If your feet were on the floor all along, that's fine too. Okay. Then let's roll over to the side and take our time as we press up. And you might want to grab a bolster, a stack of blankets, anything that will help you to be a little bit more comfortable kneeling. And if kneeling is not going to be an option, maybe if you have that chair handy, you could sit in the chair and that will work just fine. So this is how I've arranged myself so I can be comfortable for a little while in Thunderbolt Pose. I've got my sitting bones elevated onto my bolster. You could use a couple blocks if you have that. Or if this is not, hey, it's raining outside. That's a very exciting thing to happen. If it's not comfortable for you to be in this position, even with the props, then please take the chair. It's going to work just fine. Okay. So we want to try, if we can, to lift our spine into a long, lifted up position. And let's take our left hand to the heart and the right hand to the belly. Close the eyes if you're comfortable with that. Otherwise, you can just look down at the floor where it's boring. And gently lengthen your breath, releasing any tension you're holding. You could do a little tiny meditation here. So if this is uncomfortable, please sit in a chair if being this way is uncomfortable for you. Imagine the breath flows in through the crown of the head. And I know you actually breathe through your nostrils, but just imagine the energy of the breath comes in through the crown of your head and moves all the way down, down, down. And there are different floors that we might go to and stop. So let's imagine that we inhale now and the energy of the breath comes in the crown of the head and the elevator moves down to our shoulders. The elevator doors open. And then as we exhale, the elevator goes back up to the crown of the head. So we'll just play with that for a second if that's okay. Inhale the energy of the breath in the crown of the head to the shoulders. And exhale, the elevator moves back up to the crown of the head. Now let's imagine that when the elevator doors open at the shoulders, all the tension that we've been holding in our shoulders releases. And we exhale it back out the crown of the head. Take one more breath like that. And then let's bring the breath a little bit deeper. Inhale through the crown of the head. We go right through the shoulders to the belly, maybe where your right hand is. The elevator doors open at the belly. And as we exhale, the elevator goes back up to the crown of the head. And now the tension from the shoulders and the belly is being swept away by the elevator as we exhale. One more breath like that. And now we'll just let the elevator move right to the pelvic floor. So the elevator can stop at the shoulders if you need it. It can stop at the belly where your right hand is if you need it. And then it can move right to the pelvic floor. The elevator doors can open there, and we can release any tension we're holding in the hips, low back. And sweep the elevator back up to the crown of the head. One more breath, using this elevator imagery to help release tension from the shoulders, belly, and hips. Let your hands fall and let your eyes reopen. And let's move into cat-cow. So know that you are welcome to use a blanket underneath your knees. And if being on your knees is uncomfortable, you're familiar, I'm sure, with using the chair for cat-cow. So take a good amount of length, a good amount of space between your legs and your arms. Especially for women, we often find taking the wrists a little forward of the shoulders and maybe the hands slightly further apart can just give us more a sense of spaciousness in the shoulders. And then you're welcome to have closed eyes for this as well, if it helps you to focus a bit more on the sensations in the body. Inhale and exhale. Allow the breath to flow fully. Now we might be working with a deeper range of breath. Not that we're forcing it, but simply the work we did in the last pose may have helped us release tension that was holding us back from experiencing a full breath. Let's have a couple more breaths in our cat-cow. And we'll make our way up to a standing position. I'm going to shift my camera a little bit so I can see you a little bit better. And I'm going to move the props off of my mat so that there's no chance that I might slip or anything. So let's come into a mindful mountain pose. Feet parallel. They might be a little wider apart than your standard mountain pose, just because we want a more stable base. As we get ready to release towards sleep, we want to have a deeper relationship with the ground, with feeling grounded, with that safety, that feeling of safety that can come when we feel earth. So once again, left hand to the heart, right hand to the belly, just like we did in our last the Thunderbolt Pose. And again, you might just bring that elevator imagery quickly back into your mind, just so that you can relax the tension in the shoulders, the belly, and the hips as we hold mountain pose for just a couple more breaths. So staying in mountain pose. The pause helps you to stay more present in your transitions. We take the pause in our postures, especially in an evening practice, so we can maintain a greater connection to the present moment. Let's bring a little movement into class. And this is a powerful pose, chair pose, but we want to do a junior version of chair pose tonight, just so that we get the movement, but we don't necessarily work up a sweat or anything. I'm turning sideways to show the pose a little bit better. You're fine right where you are. So starting in our mountain pose, that mindful mountain pose. When you're ready to inhale, shift the weight to the heels, bend your knees, and sweep the arms up alongside the ears. And then exhale, come back to the mountain pose. Inhale. And exhale. I'm going to do this for a few more breaths. Moving slowly with a long, easy breath. You don't want to use too much ujjayi here if you're familiar with that kind of breathing. Our breath maybe is pretty quiet, pretty gentle. Do one more breath. And let's come back to our mindful mountain pose. Hand on the belly, left hand near the heart. And just feel the effects of flowing in and out of chair pose. So please feel free to take the feet a little wider apart than the standard mountain pose if that helps you to feel more grounded and stable. Knees can be softly bent here. When you're ready, we'll inhale, take the arms out front. And as you exhale, take the right hand, bring it around, and open your chest to the side of your mat. Inhale, come back to center. And exhale, come the other way. So we're trying to keep the knees a little bit bent because that will help you to keep your hips facing the front of the mat. And we're just kind of moving the upper body into the twist. Use your slow, patient breath to help you pace this movement. Let's go to each side one more time. Okay. And then coming back to mindful mountain pose. And you can bring in the imagery of the elevator at any time that might help you to ground a little bit more. And here's where we might bring in our strap. So if you don't have a strap, you can use an old necktie or a house coat belt or just a towel will work fine. I'm going to turn my back for a minute. I apologize. I just want to give you a view from the rear as to what's happening here. So again, your stance can be a little wider than the standard mountain pose. Hands face in, palms in towards your bottom. And we're going to take the strap behind us, palms facing in. Hold the strap quite firmly. And then the motion is, as we inhale, we pull the arms apart so the strap is taut, and we push the hands down towards the floor. So that's the movement. Now, can I show you from the side here something we want to try to avoid? Rather than thrusting the ribs out and saying, wow, what a back bend I'm getting, can we keep this part of the body in mountain pose? So the movement is about the shoulder blades on the inhale. So see how the fronts of the ribs are staying knit? And that's the exhale. Inhale and exhale. So we're really working on trying to activate the muscles of the upper back and work out some tension between the shoulder blades. Nice slow breaths in and out. Let's do one more breath there. And that's good for the strap. Come back to our mindful mountain pose. You may notice when you're breathing that both the right and the left hand have a little wave-like motion to them. The breath is moving deeper and deeper into your body. Okay, let's take the legs fairly far apart. We're going to come into a little sequence with triangle pose here. A little variation on triangle pose. Now remember we said at the beginning, because this is a wind down practice, we want to try to do junior versions of postures or hold back from what you're capable of in a more active part of the day practice. So legs aren't quite as wide apart maybe. Let's take the right leg, externally rotate. If you want to have a little bit of bend in your right knee, that's fine. And if there's adjustments on the left leg that you would like to make everything feel more spacious and grounded, then of course you can do that. This is not the sexiest version of triangle pose. This is a little bit of a movement to build on what we started with the strap. So when you're ready, we'll inhale, take the arms out, exhale, come into a really easy version of triangle pose. Inhale, draw the top shoulder blade back. So not the arm, but the shoulder blade back. That's your inhale. And as you exhale, bring the arm forward and round out your back a little bit, kind of like cat back. Inhale, left shoulder blade draws back, chest is exposed a little bit. And then exhale, bring the arm forward and round out into cat back. And then your head can kind of just do what the rest of the spine is leading it to do. You don't have to look at any particular position. Let's take a couple more breaths. And then on your next inhale, coming up out of the sequence, and we'll just take a break with our legs just in a parallel position. Take a breath in and out. And then let's rotate the left leg so the toes are pointing. And remember, there's other adjustments you can be doing for your legs, for your hips, so that you feel you have a stable, open, grounded space here. And if there's some flex in the left knee, that's just fine. Again, inhale. Exhale. And it's not my arm pulling back, it's my right shoulder blade on the inhale that's pulling back. And then on the exhale, I'm rounding out my back and my arm is falling forward, but that's from the cat back movement. And that left knee is moving any amount that you need it to bend. The idea is to keep all the joints soft and open here. So if there's any tension from the day hiding in your bones, we're just kind of gently sweeping it out. Do a couple more breaths. And then we'll come back up on the inhale and turn the feet parallel. I'm going to use my chair to find forward fold tonight. So I'm going to move my chair in front of me like this. Keep my legs fairly wide apart, depending on, what your level of comfort is with back or forward folding. You might want to have your legs a little further apart if you're a little stiff, or if you're very good at forward folding, you don't have any problem at all, your legs might come a little closer together. I got the chair because I want to be able to rest my head on something in this forward fold. In particular, I want to try to find some support for the place in the middle of the forehead, where us yogis talk about the third eye. And I want to try to be able to rest my head on something. So you can use blocks as well. Super flexible people can maybe get their forehead right to the floor, but that's not me. When you're ready, inhale, and then exhale, come into your forward fold. I'm adjusting my support so it's right underneath my forehead here, and I can still breathe. I don't have my nose or mouth smashed into anything. And arrange your arms wherever they're comfortable. And allow yourself to soften. So you might want to have your knees bent a little bit. You want to feel the weight evenly distributed around your feet, especially in the big toe ball in this posture. Reach your hips back and soften your face. This is a really good place to start thinking about lengthening your exhales. So maybe we could play around with that a little bit. Start noticing that as you exhale, it takes a little bit longer than it does to inhale. Maybe take 3 more breaths if you can hold this comfortably. Softening your face, lengthening your exhale subtly. Letting the chair support you. And then taking your hands to your hips. And coming up slowly. And for those of us who find balance a challenge, you might want to have your chair beside you with the back of the chair accessible. And maybe a couple of the feet of the chair on your mat so it's not going to move. For mountain pose, we're going to come into something that requires quite a bit of focus. So remember, one of the things we said we wanted to try to do tonight in our relaxation class was to take our awareness away from what's happening out there, even if it's a rather spectacular storm, and bring our awareness more into what the present moment is happening in the body. So when you balance on one leg in tree pose, you kind of have to be focused, or it really doesn't happen very easily. So the chair is there in case you have any confidence issues tonight, in case the balance just doesn't come for you tonight. But if you don't need the chair, let's start bringing most of our weight into the left leg. Let the left leg be like the trunk of a tree. Come up onto the ball of the right foot and turn the right knee out. This is just what you were doing in triangle pose a moment ago. And then lift the foot somewhere along the standing leg. Bring the left hip centered over top of the knee and the ankle. The tendency might be to let it bow out because we have that flexibility. But if you push the right foot against the left thigh or left calf, if that's where it is, then you're going to get a lot more a vertical alignment to your trunk. And then once you've found this, focus on the breath. So feel the root of your body moving into the earth and welcome the breath into your body. And then whatever arm position you choose, anything that works for you in terms of an arm position is fine. And let's see if we can find a nice, quiet, focused breath. One more breath if we can. And then bringing the knee forward and foot down. Maybe we'll take mindful mountain pose in between sides. And then slowly preparing to come into tree pose on the other side. So more weight comes into the right leg. And you bring the left foot into position. And the two sides of your body are coming together to form a nice strong trunk. Nice long trunk. And then you can choose your arm position on this side. Notice the places in your body where there is holding or grappling. And can you soften? Just like when we're in triangle pose, we don't want any real stiff joints, any locked joints. We want to be able to let the breath move through the whole body, the energy of the breath move through the whole body so that it can sweep out the tension of the day. Can we hold here for 2 more breaths? Amazing. Let's have one more go at mindful mountain pose. Using that elevator imagery, if it was helpful to you. Okay. So I'm going to turn my chair back around, as this might be helpful for some of us as we come into lunge pose. Other of my friends might want a blanket available to cushion their knees. So I'll let you decide which version of lunge pose you like better. The first version would be to take the right leg back and use the chair like this. And that's if you wouldn't want to have any pressure on your knees at all. My friends who are able to weight bear on the knees comfortably could still use a chair or a couple blocks and have their hands on the chair and the knee on the ground. I'm going to adjust my computer so that you can see that option a little bit better. So we've got left foot forward lunge happening now. You want to have your hands on the block or on the chair, simply because it's going to give us more room to breathe. Sometimes when our hands are down here, it gets all jammed up in here and we really can't breathe. So if you can sense that your right foot is directly behind your right hip, it's not off on some angle, point the toes right back, or if you're up on the ball of the foot, point your heel straight back, let your hips drop and lift your heart. Grow the crown of the head to the sky. Activate the right gluteus muscles, so these muscles are bunching up and supporting the work that we're doing. And take a couple deep breaths. And then when you're ready, you can step forward into mountain pose. We'll do the same posture on the other side. So the option for not weight bearing on the knee is to just take the leg back as so, or we could drop the knee if that's comfortable for you. In either case, it's great to use something under the hands. Let the hips drop. Activate the left gluteus muscles. So the butt muscles bunch up a little bit, lift the chest, lift the crown of the head, and take a few nice deep breaths. And then if you're not weight bearing on the knees, take down dog with the chair. But if you already are this close to the ground, maybe we'll take an extended child's pose. My suggestion, if you're doing extended child's pose and your body shape is like mine, is to take a stack of fists under the forehead so that once again your forehead has some support. Relaxing for a couple more breaths. And then I think we've earned a little bit of rest time. We've had a good class, a good amount of movement tonight. So I mentioned earlier that we might do something like legs up the chair pose or legs up the ottoman or legs up the couch. Let me show you a few little things that I do for myself so that I can be really comfortable here. So I just have a little old hand towel that I roll up to fill in the curvature of my neck. I don't really use a whole pillow, but I just have that. So I'm going to have that right here for myself. And if it's cool in your home, if your air conditioning is really running a lot today, you might want a blanket for over top. And this is what I do for my legs. Remember I said that this class is all about helping to relax those deep hip flexor muscles. That's what the sequence is about. If you put your legs up the wall or up the chair or even lay out in Shavasana, and your thigh turns out, which is often encouraged in yoga, that can actually put some pull or some strain on these hip flexor muscles I'm talking about. So if I can keep the thigh bone neutral in the hip socket, that is my knee facing straight up to the sky, then it's going to allow that hip flexor muscle a little bit of slack. So this is my little trick that, well, Jillian taught us, is to take a blanket over your surface, whatever you've got, the chair, the couch, whatever. And when you take your legs up, a little bit of a circus move, I guess, is wrap the blanket around as best as you can so that it holds your legs in a parallel position. When you come back down into legs up the chair pose, now my legs are held in a parallel position. You can also do this with tie. It's just that the yoga strap might have a tendency to cut in a little bit on your flesh, and we don't want any of those kind of distractions. So you want to try to make sure the support you're using under your calves meets the inside edge of your knee, if at all possible, so that really the leg is kind of suspended and the thigh bone is just kind of floating. Now here's where I would take the little towel that I had prepared and place it just so it fills in the curve of my neck. And then you could have your hands on your belly again, the way we started. So take a couple minutes to get yourself set up. And if you're really not a fan of this kind of pose, legs up the chair, that sort of thing, then please find Shavasana or a different restorative pose that suits you better in this time. I'm getting set up now. And we'll be here for a little while, so it's worth fussing a little bit to make yourself comfortable. So let your body land on the ground. Your body might land on the chair a bit too, I know, but let your body land on the ground. Allow your heels to be held completely by the chair or the ground, if they're on the ground. So allow your heels to be held completely. Feel your legs and pelvis dropping to the ground. Feel your back spreading across the floor. The ground will hold you up. Let your upper back and your shoulders and your head rest completely on the ground. The ground longs to carry you. The ground longs to carry you so your breath can fill you. Welcome your breath into your body. Let the waves of breath fill you completely. There's nothing to resist, nothing to do. Let your body land. Welcome your breath into your body. Feel where your skin meets the air. And imagine you could breathe through your skin. Porous skin. You have a porous body. Porous mind. And a porous heart. Soften into the wholeness that you are. Soften into the wholeness that you are. Expanding into yourself. You are bigger than you think you are. You are already whole. You are already whole. Notice how it feels in your body as these words land. You are bigger than you think you are. You are already whole. If you have more time to stay in this position tonight to prepare for sleep, then by all means, please take more time. But if you feel you've had enough time to slow down and move into awareness of your present moment experience, then you may begin to start to deepen your breath on purpose. Wiggle your toes or your fingers, keeping the movements very slow. We're progressively slowing down to prepare for releasing into sleep. My suggestion is to roll over onto your right side, if that's comfortable. And staying there for a few breaths as you just kind of feel the effects of your practice tonight. And slowly coming back up from the floor in a comfortable seat. And that might mean sitting in the chair. You can take the right hand to the belly, left hand to the heart, as we did in mountain pose and other poses tonight. You can close the eyes for a moment if you like and just feel the energy of the breath moving into the body. And maybe briefly you bring back the elevator imagery. The energy of the breath coming in the crown of the head, moving down towards the pelvic floor, stopping at the shoulders or at the belly as necessary. Just feel with each breath you take in that there's more connection to the earth. There's more releasing of tension from the shoulders and the belly and the hips into the earth. And then with this, gentle attention, this kindly attention to your body, you might bring your hands into a prayerful position at the heart. And we could finish our class by sharing the sacred sound of Om. So I'm inhaling now. Namaste.